Are we on? Oh, okay. So I'll call the July 19th, 2017 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order at 7:32 PM. Are we being amplified?
Yeah, it seems like there's a little bit of an echo.
Which is awesome, but I think you guys can generally hear me.
I don't know if the television volume is up too.
It wasn't, he turned it down. Stand by, technical difficulties.
I know, it sounded like they could hear you in Georgetown.
That would be good, yes, since there's no table. We should have brought you a chair, sorry. Are we still recording? Can we go ahead, or? Well, I'll just talk softly then, which is not what I usually am asked to do. I'm usually asked to speak up. Okay, so just to introduce the board to those who are watching from afar, Kathy Francis to my left, I'm Casey Bailey, chair, Jason Norman to my right, and Dan McDonald down the end. We have one public hearing before us tonight, and I'll read the public hearing notice in just a second. I just wanted to note for the applicant that I submitted a disclosure, a conflict of interest disclosure to the Board of Selectmen, stating my conflict of interest, which is as an abutter, asking for a waiver of the conflict so that I could act on the matter since we are low in numbers. We had hoped to also have another appointee, but that didn't work out for reasons that are irrelevant. But so we do have 4 members who can act on your petition. So I will start by reading the legal notice, the corrected version of the legal notice, which is dated June 5th, 2017. Please take notice. Correction to hearing notice dated May 30th, 2017. Application 2017-6 made by Elizabeth Rose for 21 Elm Park, Assessor's Plat Number 10, Lot Number 30, for a finding of fact and special permit pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 106, to replace 2 business units with 3 one-bedroom apartments in accordance with all applicable sections of the Town of Groveland zoning bylaws, including Section 106.1, 107.7, 300, and 400. A hearing upon this petition will be given in the meeting room of Town Hall, 183 Main Street, Groveland, Mass. on Wednesday, June 21st, 2017, at 7:30 PM, at which time you may appear either in person or by agent or by attorney and present any reasons which you may have for granting or denying this petition. At the June 21st meeting, we didn't have a quorum, so this got put over to our July 19th meeting. So with that, if you want to step forward and talk us through your petition.
Members of the board, my name is Elizabeth Rose. I am the trustee of Just the Beginning Realty Trust, which owns the property at 21 Elm Park. I've owned the property since 2005, when at that time, my then business partner and I had purchased the property and established a law firm there. The property, it's my contention that the property is a pre-existing non-conforming use. It was built in 1849 in Elm Park. It's in the business zone, and over the course of its history, it's been a single-family, multi-use residence and business. And on information from a prior owner, they said it had been used as a multi-family. I can't confirm or deny that. It's just what one of the prior owners had told me. The neighborhood today in Elm Park, you're probably all familiar with it going by. There are multi-unit buildings, multi-family homes, there are businesses with apartments. There are properties on either side of my property that are mixed business and residential. Property to my left, I guess, if you're standing on my front steps, the Elm Park Flooring is a business, and there's 2 or 3 apartments in there. To my other side, used to be the Groveland TV repair, and there were, at that time, a business and 2 or 3 apartments in the main house. I believe the business is gone now, and there's 3 or 4 residences in that property. Across the street, there are mixed business and residential. I think John Bowes has both a residential and business use. And there are also just multifamily houses up and down the street, as well as single family. The lot sizes when Elm Park was laid out in the early 1800s were small by today's standards. The largest, and I have the paperwork from the assessor's office, but I think the largest would probably be in the 20 to 25,000 square feet. So what I have right now there is I have my law office on the 2nd floor, and there's a retail store, Vintage and Vogue. And I have a 3rd floor that, since we own the property, I've used and members of my immediate family have from time to time used sort of as a quasi-residential place. There are bedrooms up there. There's a full bath on the 2nd floor, and there's a kitchen. I even held a reception after a memorial mass for one of my parents there before we had the store in there, because it was conducive to that kind of thing. In fact, my prior business partner, she and I used to kid that at some point in time when we got to be old and gray, which for me is now, we would keep the office and we'd have our home on the 2nd floor and be the old lady lawyers of Elm Park. Unfortunately, that's never going to be. So where I'm at right now is, for primarily 2 reasons. I'm seeking to change from the business use and make it residential. And the reason I'm seeking 3 small 1-bedroom apartments is because I see the need in my own business. I've had calls from people looking for, I'm downsizing, I'm divorced, I'm recently widowed, is there anything, do you know, they always ask for outside of Groveland, and they're Groveland residents, and you hate to see folks have to leave, and there's not much in town. I think if we look at what Chapter 48A6 requires in our own bylaw, that I can request this board make a finding that my change of use to the 3 residential units is going to be less detrimental to the surrounding neighborhoods in the area. And the reason I say that is, right now, with the store and with my business, 7 days a week, there's traffic in and out of there. And on certain days, you might go by and it kind of looks like a flea market on the front lawn. It's picked up after she closes each time, so there's not a problem there, but it would do away with that. There's significant off-street parking. There's also, there's parking all along Elm Park. In fact, we oftentimes get the trucks for the business next door in front of us for a while. But there's significant and substantial off-street parking, and there's room in the back to grow the grass again and make it look like it fits into that community. I think it's a good use of the property, and I think that this board has the right to consider those points and grant a special permit for that use. And that's what I'm looking for. Any questions?
Questions? Board?
What's zone are you in? It's residential C or 3, or is it?
Say that again.
What zone?
Business.
I'm in business.
Business?
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right
the
on.
business is just beyond right along the side where Jerry's is.
Yeah, I was looking, it's pretty
Yeah.
close there,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
looked at the zoning map, and
Yeah,
tough to read online.
it is.
Let me ask you this, under the new bylaws adopted in April,
Yeah.
multifamilies are not permitted in any district that I can see.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't, under what legal theory, I guess, would you be able to do so?
Well, I would,
Because it's not just a use change, it's a change to a non-permitted use.
suggest that although they were voted by the town, they had not been adopted or accepted by the Attorney General's office yet, and therefore aren't truly in effect. So that I believe I come under the prior.
Just
Mr. Chair,
to,
may I? Oh, yeah.
go ahead, you can explain.
I requested an opinion, you
Okay.
know, through the Board of Selectmen of Town Council to see what the town's position was on that. And, Madam Chair, may I read the town's position on that, or would you like to? I don't know if you take the same position, but
Yeah, I I'd prefer to summarize. I don't feel like it's my authority to waive the attorney-client privilege to read it directly. Well, go ahead,
Well,
ahead.
it was-
It's
it
fine.
was
Go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
It was recommended.
I changed my mind as I said that.
It was recommended.
Please go ahead and read what they said.
Town council had recommended that any building permit, I'm going to paraphrase, or other approval issued during the period of the Attorney General's review contain a note similar to the following. Please be aware that the amendments to the town of Groveland's zoning bylaws approved by vote of town meeting on April 24, 2017 are currently being reviewed by the Office of the Attorney General, and any action taken under any permit issued pursuant to the amended bylaw is taken at the permit holder's risk with the understanding that a disapproval of the amended bylaw may result in the activity undertaken pursuant to said permit being disallowed.
I think if you read kind of the beginning part too, where he says, where he explains kind of the process.
Okay.
That would be good.
And this was addressed to Denise, Finance Director, but I had requested, and I can give you a copy of it if you like, because this is their position, you know. And I had asked for that because I wanted to use it at this
Right.
meeting, so
Yep.
I don't think it's,
We're ready for me. No, I know it was raised.
it's important to
It was-
me that I get it right and apply the appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that
yeah.
you asked for
Yeah.
that, so
In anticipation, I thought I'd be
that's okay.
chair tonight, but appreciate Casey being here. Pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the effective date of zoning bylaws adopted by vote of town meeting is the date of the town meeting vote. The ZBA correctly relies on the zoning bylaws recently adopted by the town and acting on applications now before it. And then it goes on to say, the Attorney General must review and approve all zoning bylaws, see General Law, Chapter 40, Section 32, and posting and publication must be made pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, in order for those bylaws to become finally effective. If the Attorney General were to disapprove any portion of the zoning bylaws recently enacted and presently being relied on by the ZBA to act on the applications before it, previous zoning bylaw, quote, to the extent such previous zoning bylaw was changed by the disapproved bylaw or portion thereof shall be deemed to have been in effect from the date of the town meeting vote. End quote, General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
So,
The town's position is that we're using
You know,
the new ones,
yeah.
subject to disapproval
disapproval.
by the Attorney General.
And I checked just before I came here, and didn't see any notice of decision from the Attorney General yet, so.
Yeah, I think the 90 days is up probably.
Pretty
first week of
soon,
August or
yeah,
something, Yeah,
Um,
so I'd rather not wait till August.
So,
I know you're very nice to me. So
So if-
by your question then, I guess my response would be, if going by that, then I would seek the two that would be allowed under the new ordinance.
It appears to me that by the matrix, if you, as I've referred to it and others,
Yeah.
Section.
two-family, you know,
Yeah.
on cursory exam there is permitted. But a multifamily is not
Right.
anywhere in town, and it's noted not permitted, so I don't see any gray there, and if you can help me see gray, then, you know, I like to help people, but if it's just not allowed, I don't know how I could go against that.
I think, yeah, gray isn't there in my reading of either. I think I have the argument if it were not in place. So, I guess my best response would be then, if two are permitted, then I would amend my request to at least try to get 2 residential units rather than continue the business there.
So would you do it, how would you do the configuration then? So before you, I think you had 3 one-bedrooms, right?
Yeah.
So if you were gonna do 2, would you change that up a little? Or,
Possibly to 2-bedroom.
so like one on the first floor, one on the second floor? Is
Yeah.
that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, the intent was always to keep it within the same building, and the only exterior change would be second means of egress from the second floor, or third floor if it was more townhouse style.
Yeah, I actually looked at that building 3.5 years ago when you had it on the market,
You did.
before we bought our house
Oh,
somewhere else in Groveland.
okay.
And it's a pretty large space.
Yeah.
So two-family is certainly doable
Yeah.
pretty easily.
Yeah. And we would have
3,
preferred.
I can't remember well enough to really say 3, but
Right, the reason the one family is limits the opportunity to increase the school footprint
The one
there.
bedroom, you mean?
The one bedroom,
Yeah,
yeah. And, you know, and that was the focus and the focus would still be to try to service the needs of maybe the older, single person or a couple that are downsized from the bigger house. So, yeah, I would request to amend to 2 units, maximum 2-bedroom.
Okay.
I don't think you could do 3. Sleep in the closet, but that's right.
Gotta meet that state building code on bedroom size, right? Okay.
So then,
With-
how does is there there is a third floor, right?
Yes.
So how would you factor that in? Would that be part of the second and
It
third?
would
Like they
probably be
combine,
an
like?
attic or storage area.
Yeah, okay. That's what I
Townhouse
was,
unit, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. Would you do it
Yeah.
townhouse style? Would you do it up, 1, 2, and then have extra space? Or
Probably a-
sometimes like they do like a townhouse for the second and third? So
Right.
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, so, I think you still have the need for a finding and a special permit given the non-conforming lot. So,
Yes. I would request that.
yeah, so even though the use is permitted as of right, so we can kind of discuss the change in use in relative to the non-conforming lot and whether there's more detriment to the neighborhood or less detriment in those fun things, if anybody wants to throw anything out there.
Well, the lot's not gonna change, right?
No.
It's been that way since 1849, did you say? So I don't see that changing overnight, right?
No,
So-
and I don't see butters on either side.
Yeah,
They don't have room to spare.
right. And effectively, right now, you're using it as 2 commercial units.
Correct.
So I really, my opinion, I guess, is that I don't really see, I don't really see too much of a difference. I actually kind of see it as probably less detrimental in way of, traffic and parking, and so those would be my comments.
Are you planning any expansion of the structure at all? Or
Only,
changing to the configuration of the footprint or anything?
not that so much, only to add a means of egress from the second floor.
In the
So,
rear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a staircase down or a spiral or something like that.
Okay. And you said it would be in the rear?
Yes, oh yes,
You've got it. You're good with setbacks in the rear, right?
yes.
Yeah.
That's my biggest part,
Yeah, I thought it's a pretty deep lot, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
It's a quarter of an acre, right?
yes,
But narrow.
Yes.
yeah. Enough to grow grass and weeds, though.
Groveland specializes in weeds. At least my yard does.
Mine too.
Okay. Anybody else have comments or thoughts?
Sure. What businesses are adjacent to you on that side of the road?
Elm Park flooring,
Okay.
and then Jerry's, and then it goes down to, all the way to the Groveland Diner. On the other side, actually, I ended, I think, because it was the Groveland TV repair shop forever, and that's gone out of business now. I think beyond that, they had a home occupation at one time, but I don't think that's in existence anymore, so.
So,
Do you think there'd be any problem with residential use and just interaction with the businesses at all? Would there be
I don't honestly think so.
any conflict there, you know, complaining about the business next door or something like that, you know?
I don't think so. It's a quiet business. I mean, the only thing that are occasional delivery trucks, and sometimes we get delivery trucks is from Jerry's, you know, depending on who's parked on the street. And it's a short-term kind of thing. Behind my lot are residences. And in the building that the flooring company is, there are 2 apartments in there as well.
Okay,
And
so they coexist.
we do, oh yeah.
So it wouldn't be a situation where you have tenants moving in there or somebody buying it, you know,
Yeah.
the condos or a two-family, and complaining about the store being open and the trucks there.
No, I would think, if anything, folks on either side of me might have been complaining about our businesses
About your
from
retail?
time to time. Yeah.
It
and
is-
even
Well,
when
the
I
shop.
had, you know, on occasion, the multi-clients piled up, you know, from time to time. It can be a little crazy there. I always have folks drive in, turn around, drive out, and that would be the same for anybody living there. There's sufficient space to do that.
so they wouldn't be backing back
No
out
backing,
into,
it's
so
just
that
to take the
you'll
light in
keep,
your hand.
When
keep
you
the
start
parking area.
What do you have
Yeah.
for parking back there?
The
I didn't
parking
I didn't see a
is-
plot plan.
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah,
Almost the whole lot is parking basically right
yeah,
now.
it is, right now. But I'd like to be able, what we do is,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 6 spaces in there, but it would
You gonna
most
keep
likely
that
be-
garage or take that down? Is that-
It's
good shape.
well, the garage door is rotted, but that's fixable. And the prior owners, I don't know how far back, put on an extension to the garage. That's gonna come down because the floor's falling out. But the regular part of the garage is in good shape. It's, you know, it's sturdy.
And this is representing existing conditions, is that, or
Yes.
proposed?
Yep,
Okay,
that's how it looks now.
okay.
When we purchased, there was a small shed in the back, but that was falling down, so it's removed. Yeah, the largest, well, the most noise we get, I'll tell you, is when they're mowing the lawn on Elm Park. Or
Mm.
when the trash comes, you know, sometimes in the morning, but that's anywhere you live. They just happen to get out there and mow at 7 in the morning sometimes, and
Mm.
if I happen to be in early.
Well, but the people in the apartments all around there are dealing with the same
They all
problem.
deal with the same thing,
Yeah.
right. Across the side, you deal with.
I can hear them mowing
Yeah.
too, I'm a little further away, but yeah.
So it's very much a residential neighborhood with some business in there.
Okay. Hang on. If anybody has any other thoughts and comments, you feel free to shout them out while I'm reviewing the bylaw.
The building on the other side, that's basically fully residential now, you said that.
I think
it
so, yes,
basically-
yeah.
There's no
No,
real activity.
no, in fact,
So I think that's,
the area that was the repair shop, I know there's one unit above, and it looks like we might be fixing up the other one.
They just turn that into a garage or something, that
I'm not
TV repair
sure.
place?
It would be good use,
Yeah.
you know, for their,
It was pretty big, if I recall.
it is
Oh, yeah,
big, yeah.
So the repair shop was in the garage in the back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Are you planning on moving your law office somewhere
Yes.
else in town?
I'm town, yes. I am not leaving Groveland
Okay. And
just yet.
do you know if your other tenant is planning to relocate or?
She may, I don't know. It's a tough business. You know.
Does she operate just, sorry, I don't know if it's a he or she.
It's a she.
Does she operate by herself or does she have employees?
No, she's by herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's only a few days a week or something
Yeah,
like that, right?
yeah.
It's not 7 days?
It's not
she's-
7 days.
Yeah.
She's 3 days, but she's Sunday, get it straight now. Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday right now. She's permitted for the full week, but, you know, it's a supplement.
Yeah.
She has another job. And I'm generally Monday through Friday, and occasionally Saturday.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? You good? Good. Anybody want to make a motion? Oh, I think we should first just make, if so inclined, vote on amending the application so that that's clear. And I'll go for it. I would move that we permit the applicant to amend the application 2017-6 from a requested three residential unit to 2 residential unit on a non-conforming lot.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. With that said, do we have a motion regarding the application?
Did we have any public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally, thank you, Dan. Anyone else?
Hey, you know,
Seeing none.
could be.
Sorry, Mitch. Thank you.
Anyone opposed?
You want me to make the motion?
Make a motion to approve the request for a change of use to a 2-family dwelling, residential dwelling on a non-conforming lot. Based on the findings that the change of use is no greater than or less than, it's no more detrimental to the prior use. Consistent with chapter 48, section 6. Something like that.
Thank
I
you.
second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. thank you for coming back and
Thank you.
working with us.
That's all right. I made sure before I've been on that side of the desk before.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Good night. Kathy. The scribbles. Julie, I'm just gonna give these to you to put in the file. It's the plan that she just dropped and, my disclosure and approval from the Board of Selectmen. Okay, so moving down the agenda, the next item is a continued discussion of adopting rules and regulations for the zoning board. I am woefully underprepared for the meeting and forgot to bring my copy, but I sent
move
a.
on with me.
Okay, good.
I actually remembered to bring it. Oh, actually, you know, I might even have a second copy.
So I don't know if you all saw, but I sent around a revision
Here's hers, if you want to use that. This has the
at
red line.
some point in the last week, which reflected taking out the provisions regarding the Mullen Rule. I had talked to Anne about whether the town had adopted its chapter, I forget what chapter it is. There's a section of the Mass General Laws that says you can't participate in a meeting if you've missed one meeting unless you adopt this section of the statute, which would allow you to miss one meeting, provided you review the minutes or any video evidence and certify on the record that you've done so, then you can participate and vote. It appears that Groveland hasn't adopted that section of Mass General Laws, so I took that section out of these rules because we can't do it if we haven't done so. I would suggest that that would be a good idea to do, Groveland,
We
because
could make that recommendation if the board agrees and then send them a letter, you know, the board.
To the Board of Selectmen to put it on the next town
Consider
meeting.
a warrant article.
I think that that would be a good idea.
I think it'd be practical.
I think it would be very practical, especially given our low numbers.
The video, you could watch the video, you could get the file, you could get the minutes. I think you could ramp up on it.
I don't-
Most of these issues aren't super complex that you couldn't come up to speed on if you tried.
And it only allows you to miss one meeting, so it's not like you can just kind of come in at the 11th hour on a really long hearing and vote. It's meant to help resolve the, reality of modern life where sometimes you miss out on something. So anyway, that aside, that
And it
got,
harms the applicant.
it can.
It often does in terms of at least delays the time. I mean,
Correct.
They just can't bring their application to a vote until another month or maybe more,
And where we're
In our case,
struggling
we
with
didn't
our
get it
numbers.
at all.
you know.
Right, we could be in a situation where we can't vote on something because we don't have a quorum and don't have,
And then by lapse of time, it's approved.
right.
So that could be the detriment of the abutters and the town and everyone else.
Yes, it could. So I took that out. I made a couple other tweaks. I added in what we had discussed at our last meeting about the board being able to request a continuance as well to gather more information or request more information from the applicant or for whatever reason we felt was necessary.
The red line so you can see what you changed. That might help you.
Thanks. I think I had some cleanup. I had hoped to have a further discussion with Denise about finances, so I would have a little bit more information, but I think that I edited it enough in a way that it makes sense. And yes, it should be the clerk is subject to yeah, there's probably a couple more cleanup things, but,
Excuse me,
go ahead.
does it, where does it say that the Board of Selectmen, has authority and sets the fees? Does it say that?
the Board of Selectmen setting our fees?
Well, it does, it's, strike that, the zoning board.
Yeah,
What's the authority granted?
they're just established in Article 3, Section 4.
Article 3?
So page 3. It's on page 3. And you'll see I struck the reference to the statute, because I wasn't able to confirm it with Denise yet. And I just didn't want to rely on citing something that I wasn't 100% sure.
So can it be, can it be added that,
That it's subject to change.
correct,
You know.
that we can decide based on our own financial figures and analysis, that we can change the
You can add that.
fees?
From time to time, the zoning board of appeals can increase or decrease the fee as necessary. I guess in accordance with the budget.
Or costs associated with the application, you know, advertising may go up, things, you know, change. And I think this board has done a good job of really trying to keep that. Julie's been doing a great job of keeping track of each application and how much it costs us, and, you know, so we've been able to make some good decisions.
It used
I'd
to be
like to continue.
650, so I mean, everyone
Right.
who's come before us in the last, you know, what, year and a half, approximately,
Right.
saved $250, you know, they saved,
Right.
250, or before, it was 350, went up $50 recently. 'Cause
Right.
It was a little tight,
A little tight, yeah.
but not
Yeah.
by much.
Yeah, but I'd like to retain that.
Yeah, I think we should keep monitoring it and,
Right.
you know, we may see, you know, it all depends, it's largely dependent on how many butters you get and how complicated a legal notice it is, or how many lines you're advertising. So if we get a rash of really long or applicants who have a lot of neighbors, you know, we may need to compensate at some point, but,
What changed the method, I mean, we talked about this before, I don't know if you want.
yeah, we did. I think
You know,
it's easiest to have the newspaper bill the applicant directly. Lots of towns do that. That way they're just paying it directly and,
And I think you pay for the certified mailings, you know, I got a variance, you know, in a town, not this town, and they basically gave me the butters list and told me they had to go out by such and such a date, and
yeah,
I had to show up with all the certified mail receipts. One of them was in Canada, I had to, they don't take certified mail in Canada, I had to do registered mail.
yep, done that.
So, you know, and if you show up and you don't have that, application's off. So, you know.
Yeah.
Is it fair that someone has 5 abutters, say, you know, or 4 or 2? That pays the same fee as somebody who lives in a more densely populated area who has 20-something. You know, it's a one-size-fits-all, and it doesn't have to be. The application fee could be X, and then you pay for your own certified mail receipts. And then that would help us not overrun the budget, which would help, you know, make Denise happy and the Board of
Sure.
Selectmen. Because, you know, in the past, last fiscal year, you know, we had some applications that ran for several months, if not longer. The Hopper one ran pretty long. And again, you still have to do the notices on those, right?
You only have to do them once.
Yeah, but, you know, you're not gonna have those, you're not gonna generate as many fees, you know? We had a good meeting last time, I think we got
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah, we had a long meeting.
$2,000 night, you know?
I agree with that. My hesitation is that 40A does require the town to send notice. A lot of towns just say, we're not gonna do it that way.
But notice is the newspaper, isn't it?
No, it's also the mailings,
It requires that,
yeah.
and does it have to be certified?
No, well, do we send them certified? We don't send them certified,
No,
because we know
but
we're doing
They
it.
don't need to be certified,
Right.
but if they do them.
They have to be able to
need
prove it,
certified.
and that's why it has to be certified.
Right.
So we can't.
So it
the
actually
expense is more.
increases the
You're
expense.
saying we can't delegate that?
I'm saying a lot of towns do, but
You're saying
I think it's not exactly to the letter of 40A.
It's not compliant?
That would be my assessment.
I'm gonna look that up.
All right.
And
Look that up.
I know, Dan, you and I, or actually the group, we've discussed this at length before too, but my feeling is that I felt like the clerk should retain that responsibility so that you have a little bit of control over when the notices get sent out, exactly what gets sent. I could send them, a pamphlet for a car I have for sale or whatever, and it comes back certified, yep, she signed for it. Like, there's no control over what they actually send in that mailing.
Well,
But the clerk obviously is going to send the legal notices, exactly what needs to be sent.
but another way we could do it is.
And the expenses are lower because we don't have to do certified.
If the applicant got the abutters list.
Yeah.
Can we get that from the assessor's office?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so it's gonna have a finite number of abutters on it.
Right.
And we could just charge, what is it, $6 a piece on the certain mail, something like that? $5?
We pay that, what do we pay?
6 something,
Yeah,
it's 625 or
all
something.
right.
But
You
then
can
who
round it up to
physically mails
sevens.
it?
So you could say the application fees, let's just say we wanted to lower the application fee for the sake of illustration. We lower it to 300 plus certified mail reimbursement at $7 each. And so the clerk adds up, there's 10 abutters, there's another $70, that one's $370. If there's 20 abutters, you do the math on it. It could be variable and simple at the same time.
Well, in that scenario, right,
And-
who actually mails the notices, the
could-
applicant or the clerk?
Usually what
Clerk.
happens, I know with Conservation Commission, we mail them a form. They get their abutters list, we mail them a form, they notify the newspaper, they notify the abutters, they do
Yeah.
everything.
But that,
And they pay the fee, whatever fee they need to come in front of the Conservation Board.
yeah,
Then the applicant comes in and we usually count the cards.
it's under a different statute, and it is for Conservation Commission, yeah, it is the applicant's responsibility to notice. I am reading 48 now, it doesn't actually say the town has to, it says notice shall be sent by mail, postage, prepaid.
There you go, so we delegate. But again, if it's a customer service thing and you're more, the applicant's more inclined to, drop the ball and, they sent out 11 out of 12 and we have to, send them back, come back next month, go reserve,
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
could
I
be
mean-
more of a hassle than it's worth.
And it's like checking off the boxes, sitting here waiting for them to start,
But
it's
I
kind
think
of a
the
pain.
issue, we're talking about is, how to control the budget and the variables in it without getting, off track and having to go up on a fee for everybody, when it might be a few applicants that skew the fee structure that we have in place. So, something to think about, but if
Well,
it was
we
up
could-
to me, I'd say there's a base fee plus $7 each for every certified mail, and they get that certified list and do the math and add it to the fee, and,
But then if they have to go to the post office, they have to pay the post office, so,
no, we could do the mailings just like we've been doing, just the
But for us,
clerk would
it's a-
collect the fee.
but we don't have to do certified. We could
Right.
save them money by saying, okay, we'll do it, and we save the money on the fee.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Yeah,
say,
because-
say you've got 20 neighbors at 50 cents a stamp, that's $11, it's
But
not
if
that
you
much
don't do
money.
certified mail and someone says they didn't get noticed, then how do you
They
It's
usually
the
come,
clerk.
if they come back, I usually put the ones that don't come back.
You do
They
send them out
receive-
by certified mail?
No,
No, just,
no, if it's returned
Returned.
mail, we get it back, so we know they didn't get it, but.
we only require, typically you only require applicants to do it so that they can prove to you that they sent it. That's the only way to prove you sent something.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas, as the town saying we've sent it, we're saying we sent it in compliance with the statute.
Right, so $11 versus, 20 applicants at $7,
Yeah, I mean, the
it's a
It's-
big
it's-
amount of
the
money.
cost of the
Right.
postage is.
It's a lot
just
of math.
Very small portion
77
of the
plus-
overall
plus the-
fee anyway.
The flat rate.
Right, so it gets very expensive for the applicant at that point. And so
Yeah,
I
but
think if we do it, it's actually
cheaper.
cheaper, and I think it accomplishes the goal you want, is to make it the cheapest
But
for
you
the
could-
applicant.
But you could still have that variable fee structure, and it's just we do the mailing.
So we collect the $7 and pay 50 cents? Is that
If
what you're
it's 50
saying?
cents, I think you're
What's the
adding more
difference? Why
cost
don't you just-
overall, just trying to calculate that.
So we make
and
$6.50
make sure
on
all the
every-
checks are right and
that doesn't
everything.
make sense.
Well, you know, I mean, if it
Doing
isn't
the
broken,
accounting on that.
if it isn't broken, we don't need to fix it type of thing. If 400 works, then we can stay with
Yeah.
400.
We've gotten a little off topic as well. but
Sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I think it's a good discussion. It's one we keep having.
All right.
But
Back to the
we
narrow
just,
issue, can we add in there that we
I-
have
added,
jurisdiction and may
done.
make necessary fee adjustments?
yeah. And just to conclude,
Thank
like, you know, we've had 400 as the fee for a couple months. You know, we'll look at it again once we have a little bit more data on how that's working. So, any other thoughts or comments on the rules and regs? I deleted, and under, it's on page 5, under notice, that we would provide notice to town boards as a matter of course, because I don't think that we do that. We don't send notice to selectmen or planning board of any application,
Yeah,
right?
hearing notices I do.
You do?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
well
put
then,
them in the mailbox.
okay. So it's selectmen, planning board, building inspector, public works, conservation, and town clerk?
Where it has a box out there, it'll,
Okay.
you know.
I'll add that
it
back in.
affects- Usually I send one to the police too, fire.
Okay. I wasn't sure, so I took it out, but we can put it back in unless there's objections. You don't like it? Alright.
And we can modify these at any time, right?
Absolutely.
Well, try them out. Take it for a test drive,
I think that works.
Is it really gonna change anything?
you know. We'll
I think it's-
debug it as it goes.
Just really good to
Formalizing
have
what
it
we do now.
formal so that,
Yeah.
you know, we may not all always be part of this board. And
Oh, yeah, that's true.
um,
We're all temporary workers.
so the idea was to have some sort of consistency of how the boards run so that, you know, for all of the people who are beating down the door to be appointed to the zoning board, if we make room for them, that they'll have a guidelines to follow instead of
They'll have a
reinventing.
cookbook.
Yeah, cookbook, there you go. The intent is also to attach the application form so that it's officially the application form. I was in the process of kind of revamping our application form, hopefully to make it something that people could fill out electronically rather than having to handwrite everything.
No.
But I'm not done with that yet, so I think for the interim that we would just keep with our current form. Unless somebody else wants to take that challenge on. I'm more than willing to delegate.
They can just download it and print it out, right?
But they all come handwritten
Uh-huh.
rather than like being able to type into the document.
Yeah, because you can make the PDF so that you can.
Like,
fill
type in the box, yeah.
PDF and then print it,
Well,
so.
that works sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, try to make it work. I think we're a little bit away from submitting things electronically, but, you know,
Could you re-add a line on the application? I know I actually put one on, so that way, what I could do is instead of mailing them a copy of the
an email address.
decision, I could email it to them, that will save us some postage.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely, I can do that, once I get to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
How come the official form application doesn't require a plot plan? I didn't get one on this last one we had, and asked for it.
I know, and I think
It's, you know what I'm saying?
I,
You know, I was even looking for the, on here,
Put that on.
the zone it was in, what does it say? The zone.
yeah, I know, basic information that you'd like to know when you're
With
deciding.
the zoning board, I have an application in front of me, and I.
She wrote it in.
Well,
I
the
have to
first
look up
box
what
says state the
zone
current
is.
zone and nature of proposed business.
Yeah, it's
Current
in a
zone.
narrative rather than in a checkbox.
Yeah, where is that?
The very-
Page 3,
The first.
at the top.
Page 3?
Box.
Yeah, where they actually start filling out. Like the front is mostly.
Oh,
for-
I
A lot
see,
of times,
state,
people
yeah.
don't even know it's on there, and
So,
they leave it blank.
right, so why don't we request that they get the plot plan and the, or, you know.
Isn't
It is
it's in
required in the, under
directions,
the,
isn't it?
and it is in the directions, which aren't always attached. We
How
don't,
do you know you know, how do you know it's right? So I went online and I printed out the tax card too, you know?
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah,
property sheet.
Yeah.
Because again, what if the information's blank or it's inaccurate?
Yeah, I mean, if you're relying them to fill it in, then you can't count on it anyway, really.
That's what I'm saying, so why don't we modify the form so that we get the official.
You want to get
transcript
the property
of
card?
What it is. I'm not saying people are dishonest, but they could just
Some-
make
Or
mistakes.
just not
mistakes,
know, because
yeah.
sometimes the assessor's information
Yeah.
is
Oh,
not
and-
100% either.
and-
That's true.
So-
And if you look on the map, they haven't modified the zoning map. Diane, I know, because I looked today, so we have a new bylaw that,
With the number versus letter thing?
right, it
Yeah.
has residential,
Well-
1, 2, 3.
I know.
And
Why
if you
would
go
we-
to the map, it's
ABC.
ABC.
Yeah.
So RB, somebody might think, oh, I'm in residential business. Well, no,
Which
you're
is
not.
why we changed it in the first place, but yeah.
It's confusing.
Why can't the assessor's office print out the card for the, they're charging $25 for the butters list.
Yeah.
Really. With that, they should get this, and maybe a plot plan if they have one kicking around, you know. This was blown up, I got a piece of it.
I
This
don't-
would be nice with the
I
application,
know the town of Merrimack used to do it like that.
but
I agree.
I
and
had
I'd
to
like
go
have the tax
online,
card, too.
look
That'd
up
be
the
good.
zoning map, I couldn't figure out, in this case, it was like on the line.
She's 3 lots in, the line's
I
on
could- I
Spring
couldn't-
Street.
And it's shaded, you know, there's like a pink and then an off pink. Like,
Map's a little hard to read.
Yeah,
no, I don't wanna rely on my eyes on a computer, seriously. And if I didn't do that ahead of time, how would I know? It's a
Okay.
business and not the,
So, yeah, I would.
RB too.
I was, I started working on the application quite a while ago, and I saved it somewhere, and I can't locate it, but I will. And I was including like a checklist of things to include, you know, you've got your abutters list, you've got your check, you've got your narrative, you've got, so we'll add in a property card, and we'll
Yes.
make it clear that a site plan is required of, and ideally, it should show existing and proposed conditions.
We've had applicants just recently in the last couple of meetings, well, where is the proposed deck or porch gonna be in relationship to the setback and the property line? Well, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
important.
bad facts make bad decisions, and we hope we get all the facts and we make good decisions, you know, so, no, it's less than complete information to rely on. And again, it's just gonna create misunderstandings, well, I thought I could do that, and it's just, maybe the deck gets bigger.
Well, he's gonna have to submit a building permit for it, and
I understand
Sam's gonna
that, but
be on that.
what we
but-
approve ought to be what's presented before us, so that you asked that, is this what is, you know, I forget how you phrased it, but is this the current, is this
I don't-
the
Existing
current
con-
plan?
Existing condition.
It's not the future vision.
Any other thoughts about what else we might want to include in the application?
No,
What happens if it comes, I'm not, like, I usually have a problem with it coming in complete. I mean, I try to get here on Monday evenings. But a lot of times, these applications come in during the week where, you know, there isn't a person from the zoning board here during the week. So, and Ann's kind enough to accept them, so, you know, how do we deal with that? I mean, I usually call them up, and we don't get the information, and so deny the meeting.
Yeah, so, I mean, technically Ann should be receiving the applications because they're to be filed with town clerk, so that's fine. But if there, and something I was thinking was to supplement the filing with town clerk with an email follow-up, so that it might come to you and/or me faster, to be able to take a look and make sure everything's there, so that, you know, we could get a response out faster, so they have more time to respond, which, if it doesn't affect the ability to do the legal notice, it's not as concerning, you know, I think it makes sense to allow an applicant to supplement an application up until the meeting, you know, with the understanding that if we're getting it at a meeting, we may not have had time to review it. And if it is something substantial, we may take our liberties of continuing a hearing in order to allow us to review it. But to the extent that it impacts the ability to post a legal notice, I think doing our best to contact and request the supplemental information, or not even supplemental, the necessary information, you know, it's really up to the applicant to submit a complete application. And if we do, you know, our best to respond as quickly as possible, I think that's all we can do. And try to make it as clear as possible about what's required so that it's not really, it shouldn't be a surprise and it shouldn't be confusing. But we can add something to the application that they sign that says, I've provided all of the information.
That's the front page.
If the board or the clerk reviews and finds something missing, I'll supplement as quickly as possible, or something like that, or risk not being heard or being denied. We can, yeah, make sure that's in there. Okay. So I think I'll keep working on an application, but I would hope that we could maybe vote on the rules next meeting so that we can have them in place. And I will endeavor to make those last couple tweaks and send them out so people can review them in advance and make sure that we're all good with it. All right, any other comments on the rules and regs? All right, let's move on.
Thank you for doing it, that's my comment.
You're welcome. Moving on to invoices, we have 3 invoices. The first is payable to the Eagle Tribune in the amount of, wow, $1,060.50. I take it this was legal ads for our last meeting, which was a significant number. And an invoice payable to Julie House, Administrative Assistant to the ZBA, for $103.50. Again, for June's meeting. Start saying that one. And then an expense reimbursement form for reimbursing Julie House for supplies of paper for 2124. And I believe, am I the only one who signs this one? Okay. Do you guys wanna,
Okay, so I can take a look at it.
I'll let you can take a look at that too.
So this is,
That's the only, I only sign
there's
that
another one for Julie, I
Yeah.
assume?
yeah.
Okay.
This is the other one for Julie.
Oh, I saw this one. No, I meant
Oh.
for Julie.
I guess this was the Eagle Tribune. Okay, so can I have a motion on the Eagle Tribune notices?
Maybe Jason
Or
can make.
Dan, did you get that one yet? Are you on Julie? Okay, never mind, sorry. Trying to move us along
I
too
haven't seen the
fast.
second one.
All right.
So could you pass up the one that Dan has, because I haven't seen that one? Swap. Thank you.
I don't know if you,
$1,000.
look at that, that's the reimbursement.
It's one way you can save some money. Start
You
with
don't
a
have to-
newspaper.
Why don't we go with like, you know,
You don't have to
the
sign that
cheap
one.
old newspaper? Did I bring that up again?
You should.
Huh?
We just print a piece of
Make
paper
a
and
motion that we change the newspapers to the cheapest one available to meet the minimum requirement under the notice law.
I think that's where we are, actually.
No, we're not. We can go half price.
I don't think it meets the requirements under the notice law.
It did, it's,
what are the requirements under the notice law?
Well, it's that it's gotta be published 7 and 14 days in advance of the meeting. And the publication is on a Thursday, is that right?
No, it's on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. But it was something about like
What are
the date that we
requirements
get
for
our
what defines
applications
a publication?
Yeah.
in order to, because they only publish once a week,
It
so.
just doesn't fit.
We go with,
Does anyone read the newspaper anymore?
Yeah,
They do?
well, nobody reads that stuff.
oh, yeah.
I do.
Well, I think more people read the Eagle Tribune than the Penny Pincher or whatever it was that you were
You
trying.
need like the pizza shop newspaper.
What about
you know?
the
You know
school
what I'm saying?
newspaper, does that count?
Oh,
It's gotta be a newspaper of general
Circulation.
circulation in the community.
Doesn't-
You could maybe try the Boston Globe, but
North Shore
I
Sunday.
think that would be more
The
expensive.
Boston Globe,
North
that'll be
Shore
8 times the
Sunday.
price.
teasing. All right, how about a motion to approve the invoice to pay Julie House, $103.50?
I make a motion to approve the invoice for Julie House for $103.50.
A second?
Second.
Jason, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Did you sign this?
No.
A motion for paying the invoice to the Legal Tribune for $1,060.50.
I'll make a motion to approve paying the Eagle Tribune for
Any second?
1,060 and something,
And 50 cents.
50 cents.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. There you go. And the invoice to pay, reimburse, Julie for $21.24 for paper supplies.
I'll make a motion to accept the invoice for reimbursement to Julie for $21.24 for office supplies.
Second? I'll s-
Second.
Jason seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I forgot to ask if there was discussion, but can't imagine there is. Okay. Julie, do you have minutes? I didn't print them. Okay. I guess we can,
Did everyone get them?
We can table it till next time.
yeah. I guess unless, we can talk about them if anybody had any questions or comments. 'Cause I know you all read them.
I glanced at them. I could probably use more time to read them.
More time to read them? Okay. So we'll delay our vote on approving the minutes from June 21 to our next meeting. And there was a lot in that meeting, so,
Sorry, folks.
yeah.
Couldn't do my homework.
It's okay, you know.
It's summertime.
Which brings us to agenda item number 5, being next scheduled meeting. We did discuss August 2nd as a regularly scheduled meeting, but Julie tells me that we don't have any new applications. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So,
Yay.
unless you guys want to come in August to talk about rules or the minutes, we could probably put off till September.
Oh, sure. Kick that can in September, back to school weather, it'd be nice and cold, the fall leaves coming, you know. It'd be nice.
Yeah, except that we,
September, are you living it?
You know, I'll even read it to the
you
public
can't
on
wait.
camera.
Okay.
It'd be nice.
Unless you want to bump it. I could probably do that.
Well, that's a good question. So, we typically meet the first Wednesday of the month. That would be September 6th. That is 2 days after Labor Day. Are there thoughts about who might be here?
I
I
cannot
know
make that meeting.
Kathy can't make that meeting.
Let's go to the 13th then.
Can we do that, Julie?
Or do we have to go to this?
Do we have to go to the 20th? We can't do the second Wednesday.
Why not?
I can't do the second Wednesday.
Well, I thought there was some
Conservation is-
rule about first
No,
and
it's the
third.
first
or
and third.
yeah.
Second Wednesday, conservation has us run anyway, so.
Take their minutes?
But that leaves a long time. So we're now, what, July
We
19th.
go-
That would go like 2 months till September 20th.
What if we did,
August 30th? Or August?
It's the Wednesday nights, Thursday,
16th to August.
Thursday the 7th.
well, I was gonna suggest that we instead bump it to a second meeting in August, in case we get if we get applications in by the 10th, we won't be able to have a hearing.
So what do you want, like, third week in August or something?
Unless you could get Bill.
Right.
To do
Well,
this.
I hope to have a permanent fifth member at some point. I mean, this is,
I give up a beautiful evening in August.
there happen to be 5 Wednesdays in August.
Yes.
And I
So the
can't do
third would
the
actually be
30th.
the 16th,
Okay.
which isn't
Can we
bad.
do it, what about on the
Far
7th?
away.
September 7th?
Can we do it on Thursday?
Yeah.
I know you still
I
can't be there.
do that.
Um,
That week I can't at all, but
I'm okay with August 16th, 17th, something like that. And if-
Well, it's just if we get,
Well, if we skip, then the next one's not till, first week in
We did the
October,
20th?
so it's only 6 weeks away from that,
I think we do the 20th.
so it's not.
the 20th of what day?
September.
I can do that. I can do the 20th.
We do a month.
The only problem with the 20th is
7,
then we have another
14,
one on the
21,
4th, 2
28.
weeks later.
But what if we
We
get
were gonna skip
applications by the
that
10th of
October.
August? Where does
Right,
that
that's,
put us?
I mean, that's what I'm trying to
That's what I'm
count.
saying, that's why we
days.
should have one a month from today, in August.
7,
And if no one
14,
applies,
21,
then they
28,
only have to
35.
wait 6.5 weeks until the October meeting. No big deal.
Well, can we schedule it for the 6th? If they don't find a fourth member, then we can just postpone everything until October?
Yeah, we would just have to know before the legal notices go out.
Go for September 6th?
Yeah, if we can't get a quorum, if we don't have somebody appointed by the time the legal notices go out, we'll just have to bump it. It's just, otherwise we would have to notice it twice.
Can't one of the selectmen fill in, like,
I think that I will request that, at a minimum, that Bill or Mike, be appointed for that meeting, with the renewed request for anyone who's interested in zoning or planning issues, to join us.
Please.
Well, if we have the new rules, then can't you appoint anybody, so?
I
One of
am
those
not
tonight.
above conscription
We should get-
entirely.
We should get pay raises.
Yeah, to 1 cent, which would be a raise, right?
you
Do we have
know.
a stipend? I don't have a stipend.
No, we don't
No,
have
I'm
to.
saying we should get company cars and then there'll be people on the board.
There you go. Health insurance.
Blue plate.
So does that work for everybody? We'll keep the schedule of the 6th, and deal with our quorum issues by the time legal notices have to go out. And if, Julie, if you just drop me a note to keep an eye on whatever date that is that notices have to go. Or, let me know if any applications come in as a
Right,
first.
because by the 10th, you'll know if there's no applications.
Wednesday,
we
the
do
regular
normal
scheduled meeting,
In August,
September,
In
August.
yes.
No,
September.
So we're just gonna skip
August, because we don't have any applications.
Yeah,
So we
No,
skip-
it's been past the 10th, so we don't have any applications. It would only be a discussion of rules and voting on minutes, which I'm good with not doing for another month.
Yeah, that's only 2 weeks
Okay.
away, so.
Okay, any other topics of discussion?
motion to adjourn.
Sorry?
Motion to
oh.
adjourn.
Hearing none, I think we'll just adjourn, and if you want to, okay, I'll call a vote on the motion.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. We're adjourning at, what is that, 8:40?
18 minutes of.
Thank you.